Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to the next session. In this session, we will be studying about reactions of alkyl halide. So this paper relates to organic chemistry 2, and in the module 2 we will be studying about reactions of alkyl halide, and in the first lecture we will be studying some introduction to reactivity of alkyl halides and nucleophilic substitution part 1. I am Dr. Balaji, currently working as Associate Professor in the School of Biotechnology at Jawaharlal Nehru University. This project was sponsored by DTH Swayam Prabha, MHRD, New Delhi. The topics that we will be studying in this particular session is the fundamentals of substitution reactions, the study of reaction kinetics, and the factors that affect the reaction kinetics. Let us study about the reactions of alkyl halides. So we have various reactions of alkyl halides. We will be mainly focusing on few reactions. The first and foremost is the nucleophilic substitution, basically SN1 and SN2 type reactions. Then we will also study about dehydrohalogenation or the elimination reaction. Here we will be studying about E1 and E2 mechanism. Then we will also be studying another important reaction, which is the preparation of Grignard reagent, and their uses in organic synthesis will also be studied. And finally we will study about reductions of alkyl halides. So what is the importance of alkyl halide? Because alkyl halides are very versatile compounds, and the halogen can be replaced with various nucleophiles to give different sets of functional groups, which we had already seen. The halides can be converted into alcohols, acids, thiols, amines, etc. So what is the reason behind this high versatile reactivity of alkyl halides? We will just look at the basic requirements or basic things related to that. The first and foremost is the electronegativity. As we know, the electronegativity of halogens are very high. Then the next one is about the CX bond strength, and the last one is the stability of the halide anion. So these are all the three crucial factors which govern the reactivity of alkyl halides. We'll just look at one of the important thing, which is the electronegativity. As shown here, the halide is electronegative, so it is having more negative charge, that is the delta negative charge resides on the halogen compared to the carbon, because between the carbon and halogen, the halogen is more electronegative. So the CX bond, the electrons are pulled towards the halides. Due to this electronegativity difference, what happens is this CX bond is easily cleaved, or this is prone to cleavage very quickly. That is the reason the alkyl halides are highly reactive. So this X becomes actually the nucleophilic site, or better we call this as a leaving group. In alkyl halides reaction, we say the X minus is the best leaving group because it leaves, and this part is called the nucleophilic part of the molecule. And If we look at the carbon, this carbon is basically electrophilic in nature because that is having electron deficiency, and the molecule's polarizability is written like this. Towards the halogen, the polarizability is written. And the second one what we will study is about the bond strength. So when we look at the various bond strength, the Ci bond is the most weak bond, whereas Cf bond is the most strong bond with respect to carbon-carbon bonds. So in other words, how much energy is required to break the Cc bond is much higher compared to the energy required to break a Ci bond. On the other hand, the Cf bond is much more stronger than the Cc bond. So because of this varied bond strength, what actually is useful is the Ca bond is a weak bond, so this is a less stable, and this becomes highly reactive. So this is one of the reasons the alkyl iodides are the most reactive species of all the alkyl halides. And the Cf bond is the most strong bond, due to which this is less reactive, or there is seldom any reactivity which is reported to Cf bond. There are few exceptions in the aromatic nucleophilic substitution, but in the case of aliphatic nucleophilic substitution, the Cf bond is very less used in the organic synthesis, because this bond is more stable. So because it is more stable, it is less reactive. Always the reactivity and stability are inversely proportional to each other. So if a compound is highly reactive, means it is less stable. Vice versa, if it is less stable, then obviously it is going to be more reactive. Then the final one, which is the stability of the halide ion. So here what we see, the HX is a strong acid except for HF. What does it mean? Basically, when it is a strong acid, the acid is anything which can easily donate protons. So in that sense, if we go with, if the HX is a strong acid, in other words, it can easily give out the H plus ion. The same way, the X minus has to be highly stable, then only this equilibrium will be shifted towards the dissociation side. Otherwise, it will remain like the HX as the bonded atoms only. So the stability of the halide ion is one of the reasons why the alkyl halides are highly reactive. As we mentioned, the strong acid can easily give out H plus ion. So in a similar sense, the CX bond also dissociate easily or attacked very easily by other strong nucleophiles, because the stability of X minus is very high, so its tendency to leave is also very high. So that's the reason it is a very good leaving group. When it is a very good leaving group, that actually helps in its high reactivity. Let us look at nucleophilic substitution reactions. Why we need to study about alkyl halide? This is the biggest question, because the alkyl halides are one of the important compounds, a functional group which is present in organic compounds, which can be converted into various different functional groups. So for example, the halogen can be replaced to form the nitrile, or it can be replaced to give the acids. It can be converted to amines, thiols, esters, ketone, alcohol, alkynes. So all these different functional groups can be obtained from alkyl halides. So that's the reason the halogen functionality is the most versatile one that is used in organic chemistry. Here we will look at nucleophilic aliphatic substitution reactions. So these are the important reactions of alkyl halides. So here the alkyl halide Rx reacts with the nucleophile Z to give RZ plus X minus.
And the Z group can be OH minus. If it is OH minus, then the product what we obtained is an alcohol. If it is OR minus, we will get ethers, and if it is I minus, we will get alkyl iodide. So various negative nucleophiles are given here, and we also have a neutral nucleophile. When it is ammonia, we get a primary amine. When it is a phosphine, triphenyl phosphine, we get a phosphonium salts. So these are the two neutral nucleophiles which can undergo reactions with alkyl. Before we get into understanding the substitution reactions, we need to know the difference between what is a base, what is a nucleophile, whether these two are interchangeable terms or these are two different entities. We do need to know, because base are generally used for elimination reactions and a nucleophile is used for substitution reaction. So what is a base? It is basically an electron-rich species, and it is either neutral or negatively charged. And if you go to nucleophile, it is also electron-rich species. It is neutral or it is negatively charged. So according to these two statements, we cannot find any difference between the base and a nucleophile, because this is the similarity between these two things. And if we look at the differences between the base and a nucleophile, the base basically abstracts a proton and it is involved in an elimination reaction, and it gives the thermodynamic conditions of reaction. That means the stability of the intermediate is very important, and it is involved in the equilibrium reactions. And this is a measure of how easily a lone pair can be given up. So that is the nature of the base. And when we look at nucleophile basically attacks the electron deficient centers. In other words, the nucleophile adds to the substrate, whereas the base abstracts a proton. So this is where the difference lies between the nucleophile and the base. And base is involved in, nucleophile is involved in substitution reactions. This is determined by the kinetics or the rate of the reaction. And this is a measure of how well it can react. So that is what is the difference between nucleophile and a base. And let us look at the substitution reaction. As I mentioned earlier, substitution and elimination reactions are both competing reactions. Both are carried out in the presence of a base. So now the substrate is the one which has the alkyl group, because we are talking about alkyl halides, and it also has a leaving group. So these are all the two groups present in the substrate or the starting material. Nucleophile is a stronger base than the leaving group only when the central atom is the same in both the nucleophile and the leaving group. This is one of the things you have to remember. The nucleophile is a stronger base than the leaving group, because the leaving group leaves with the lone pair of electrons. So that is a X minus is the leaving group, and the nucleophile also has a lone pair of electrons. It can be Z minus. So when the substrate is existing, whether the Z minus will attach or the starting X minus will remain itself is basically decided by the strength. So whichever is stronger will replace the other one. So let us look at the simple example of a neutral molecule. Rx reacts with water molecule to give ROH2 plus and X minus. Here the X minus is lost in this particular case. So we have a positive charge here on this one. This ROH2 plus is a quite unstable one. So this loses the proton to give the alcohol. So in other words, water when adds to an alkyl halide, we end up with an alcohol. So this is the overall reaction. And the ROH2 plus ion can also react with water to give alcohol and hydronium ion. So here actually the plus charge should be on the oxygen, not on the hydrogen. There are various leaving groups that are involved in this kind of reaction. It can be a X minus, that is halide, or OTS or O-mesylate. So these two can be formed from the alkyl halides very easily. These are sulfonic acid esters, and the sulfonic acid ester is whether R is equal to CH3, that is the methyl and when R is equal to tosyl group, this is tosylate. So when we talk about kinetics of this reaction, the rate is basically the collision frequency, the multiplication factor of collision frequency, energy factor, and the probability factor. So if there are 1,000 molecules are there, how will they collide? What is the collision frequency between the molecules? And what is the probability factor is like how many collisions leads to actually the product, that is not every collision leads to the product formation. So there is the probability factor which determines how many effective collisions are there and how they are getting converted to the product. And the energy factor is basically the energy of activation that is required for the molecules to overcome. So whenever there is two molecules hitting each other, that generally does not lead to the product formation. So they also need to have the energy of activation, the threshold to cross the barrier to move from the starting material to the product. So we have temperature, concentration, and other factors are involved in a particular chemical reaction. So when a temperature or the concentration is controlled, then the reaction proceeds at a different rate due to energy of activation. The energy of activation, when it is different, we get different types of rates for that reaction. So we can say there are various factors which are involved in the study of reaction kinetics. Concentration is just one of the factor only, because temperature can change, that also affects the reaction. Reactivity, structure, electronic properties. So various factors are involved in the particular reaction. So there is concentration alone is not the only factor, but here we are discussing about the concentration. So basically the study of a chemical reaction is called the kinetic study of a reaction. Let us look at a simple example. So here we have a bromomethane that reacts with the hydroxide ion to give the methanol and bromide ion. So this is one type of reaction. There is another reaction. Here we have 3 protons. So this is the bromomethane. Here we have 3 methyl groups. So this is a tertiary carbon. So this is a tertiary butyl bromide. The IUPAC nomenclature is 1-bromo 1,1-dimethylethane, which reacts with water to give tertiary butanol and HBr. So these are all the 2 reactions, and when we study the kinetics of the reaction, when we double the reactant concentration without changing the second reactant's concentration, the rate doubles. When this concentration is not disturbed, the hydroxide concentration is doubled, we end up with again rate of the reaction is doubled. So for this particular reaction, change of concentration of 1 or change of concentration of 2 both affects the rate of the reaction. In the case of the second one, if we double the concentration of the alkyl halide, the product formation, the rate is doubled. But if we change the concentration of the water, which is the second substrate which is involved in the reaction, the rate does not change. So in other words, in the second reaction, the rate of the reaction depends only on the concentration of 3 and not on the concentration of 4. Just remember these facts and we will try to figure it out how or why these kind of differences occur for these kind of reactions. Okay. When we talk about kinetics, we have either first order or second order kinetics involved in this particular reaction for the nucleophilic substitution of alkyl halides. There are 2 types of species involved in this particular reaction. One is the alkyl bromide. Here it is the methyl bromide. The second species is the hydroxide anion. So 2 species are involved in this particular reaction. And based on how the concentration of each of them affect the reaction, we can say the reaction follows either first order kinetics or second order kinetics. So in this specific case of the primary alkyl halide, The rate depends on the concentration of the substrate, which is the methyl bromide, and the nucleophile, which is the hydroxide anion. Since the reaction rate depends on the concentration of both the alkyl halide and the nucleophile, we say this reaction follows second order kinetics. In the case of tertiary alkyl halide, that is the tertiary butyl bromide, which is written here, in this particular case, when the rate of the reaction was studied as we had shown in the previous slide, the rate of the reaction depends only on the concentration of the substrate or the starting material. The nucleophile, whatever is used, has no effect on this particular reaction. So we say this reaction, the reaction of tertiary butyl bromide with the nucleophile hydroxide giving the tertiary butanol reaction, is a first order kinetics as given here. So the rate of this tertiary alkyl halide depends only on the concentration of the substrate. In other words, it is dependent only on the alkyl bromide, and the nucleophile has no role in this particular reaction, because as we had seen earlier, this reaction will lead to carbocation mechanism that we will be looking at soon. And when we run the reaction in 80% ethanol and 20% water at 55 degrees centigrade, the rate was found to be 0.010. In other words, the reaction does not proceed under these conditions in the case of tertiary alkyl halides. So in conclusion, what we can say is the methyl bromide reacts with the second order kinetics, whereas the tertiary butyl bromide reacts with the first order kinetics. So in other words, in this first case, the concentration of the nucleophile affect the rate of the reaction. In the second case, for the tertiary alkyl halide, the concentration of the hydroxide, that is a nucleophile, does not affect the rate of the reaction. So this is what is called the duality of mechanism. That means the primary and the secondary alkyl halides reacts by one particular kinetics, that is the second order kinetics, whereas the tertiary alkyl halides undergo reaction by first order kinetics. So even though we say nucleophilic substitution reactions of alkyl halides, not all the primary, secondary and tertiary alkyl halides undergo the reaction by the same reaction mechanism, or the kinetics rate of that reaction is not same. So what we can say is, for a given concentration, the relative reactivities can be mentioned like the methyl halide reacts much faster in the case of second order kinetics, whereas the tertiary alkyl halide reacts with the help of first order kinetics. So we are moving from a second order kinetics for the case of methyl halide to first order kinetics in the case of primary alkyl halide. Tertiary alkyl halides. The secondary alkyl halide is the most crucial one. It can undergo the reaction both by first order kinetics and second order kinetics. So here in this graph you can see here, so this is the methyl one which undergoes the reaction by first order SN2 mechanism, that is the second order kinetics. This is the tertiary butyl one that undergoes the reaction by SN1 mechanism, or the first order kinetics. So here there are some examples given with various SN2 reactions of alkyl halides. Here we have the chloro-bromo-iodo derivatives reacts with the hydroxide, thiolate or alkoxide anions to give the corresponding alcohol, thiols, ethers and other things. If you look at here, we have all the things are basically the negative nucleophiles which reacts with the alkyl halide to give the corresponding derivatives. So let us look at what is how the mechanism of the SN2 reaction can be deduced. We know the rate is basically dependent on the concentration of the methyl bromide and the hydroxide ion. What we do not know is what is the stereochemistry of the product formed. What is the rate at which the reaction actually proceeds? What are the parameters which affect this particular reaction? So these are all the things we are going to study using mechanism for the SN2 reactions. Now, we know bromide is a very bulky group. So because of this bulkiness, what happens is the hydroxide ion cannot attack from the same side of the bromide. The hydroxide has to come from the opposite side of the leaving group. We say bromide is the leaving group. So this hydroxide has to come from the opposite side. So when the hydroxide attacks the central carbon atom, we get something very similar to a sp2 hybridized carbon. Here 1, 2, 3, these three groups are in the same plane, and this is coming from one side and the bromide is from the other side. And when the reaction proceeds, the bromide leaves as a leaving group like here, and the hydroxide is getting attached to this side. So the bromide leaves from one direction, the hydroxide attacks or comes from the other direction. So basically the attack of the carbon from the other side of bromide, the hydroxide attacks from the other side. And as I mentioned here, we have a trigonal planar intermediate, and this loses the bromide ion to give the final. When we look at the stereochemistry of the reaction, we call this as a Walden inversion. We will just study about Walden inversion soon. Now let us take the example of two substrates. Here we have the 2-bromo-octane. Its rotation is minus 39.6 degree. This is a minus isomer. The bromine is on the right hand side. For our simplicity, I will put this one. This is an R isomer. And in this particular case also, this is a 2-octanol. This is also minus isomer. The alpha for this compound is minus 10.3 degree. So bromine is on the right hand side, hydroxyl is on the right hand side. For both the cases, we have the same rotation minus. But when we run the reaction of this particular isomer with the sodium hydroxide, the reaction proceeds via SN2 mechanism. SN2 mechanism is nothing but the bromine will be replaced and the hydroxide will come in the opposite direction. So in the starting material, the bromine is on the right hand side, and in the end product, the hydroxyl is on the left hand side. So the minus isomer gets converted to the plus isomer. So the alpha D changes from plus 10.3 is the product which is obtained from this reaction. So from this, what we can infer is whenever the SN2 reaction proceeds, we are getting inversion of configuration. So this was first identified by Walden. The Professor Walden identified this reaction. So this reaction is called the Walden inversion, or the SN2 inversion is generally called as Walden inversion. And we all know that all SN2 reactions proceed with complete stereochemical inversion. So this is one of the important aspects, stereochemical aspect of SN2 reactions. As we mentioned here, the OH is from the left hand side, comes and attacks, and the bromine leaves to the right, and we end up with this particular compound. So here the inversion of configuration at this particular center takes place. And if you look at the mechanism, how the reaction actually proceeds, does the OH comes and attacks and then the bromide leaves, or bromide first leaves and then the OH minus comes and attacks? So this is a big question to answer. And as far as SN2 mechanism is concerned, in the bimolecular kinetics, what happens is the bond breaking and the bond making occurs in a single step. In other words, SN2 is a concerted mechanism. So that means the hydroxide attacks simultaneously, the bromide is lost. So both happens in the single step. And when we look at structure and reactivity, we have two considerations. Let us take the case of primary to tertiary in two different conditions. One is we run the reaction and measure through the second order kinetics. The same things, primary, secondary and tertiary alkyl halides will be subject to the reaction using second order kinetics. That means we keep on changing the concentration of the alkyl bromides or alkyl halides under the nucleophile and study the rate of the reaction. And in the second case, we do the same thing with first order kinetics. So in other words, we only change the concentration of one of the substrates and study the rate of that reaction. So from these changes, what do we infer? Here is the example of how the reaction can proceed. So we are taking ethyl bromide as the standard with a relative rate of 1. So with respect to ethyl bromide, the methyl bromide reacts much faster. The relative rate is 37. Whereas if you take the isopropyl bromide, it is very low, 0.02, or in the case of tertiary butyl bromide, it is 0.0008. So that means if we go through the second order kinetics, this is the relative rates of these reactions. So this confirms that the reaction of alkyl bromide with a chloride in DMF, this particular reaction proceeds via SN2 mechanism. Now, in this particular case, we have two factors which are operating. One is the polar effect, another one is the steric or size effect, because these two are the two crucial things which decides how the reaction actually proceeds. What is the polar effect? The polar effect is basically, in the case of free radical reactions, here there is no separate intermediate. In many cases of free radical reaction, the free radicals are separate species, exist as a separate species. But in the case of SN2 mechanism, we are not having an individual ionic or radical species. What we have is simply a transition state in which the nucleophile, attacking nucleophile and the leaving group are still attached to the central carbon atom. So this is the transition state. We do not have any intermediate. So this is what you have to remember and understand about SN2 reactions. The reactants, we have a nucleophile which may be a negatively charged one. So we have a negative charge here, we have a neutral molecule, but in the transition state we do not have a separate entity. Both the negative, the nucleophile and the halides are far apart from each other, and the central carbon does not have any charge in this particular case. And when the products are formed, the leaving group leaves with X minus and the nucleophile attached to the starting material. So, if this is the case, what we can predict is there any charge separation in this particular state? And you can very well say there is no charge separation in this particular transition state. So, we can very well say this reaction is not affected by the polar effect. As I said here, see, if the polar effect has to be operational, then the central carbon will have to have either a positive charge or negative charge. Since there is no charge on the central carbon, we can very well say that there is no polar effect. That means the other substituents which are present exert no effect on this particular. And the next one is the steric effect. Here, X is our halide, Z is the nucleophile. This is the transition state we are actually writing here. So in the transition state we have hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen. So this is nothing but the methyl one. So this is less crowded in the transition state. We go to the ethyl group where we have one proton is replaced by the methyl group. So this is a ethyl group. And we have two protons replaced by two methyl group, that is the isopropyl group, and we replace all the three protons with the methyl group, that is the tertiary butyl group. So if you look at this one here, the Z can easily approach the central carbon atom because it is not highly crowded, whereas in the case of this substrate, the tertiary butyl one, the Z group cannot approach the central carbon atom because it is highly crowded. So in other words, the steric effect is an important effect which affects the SN2 reaction mechanism. So here in this case, as it is less crowded, we can say it is an easy approach. The nucleophile can easily approach the central carbon atom. Here it is more crowded. In other words, it is very difficult for the Z group, that is the nucleophile, to attack this carbon atom. And if you are going to look at the steric effect within the primary substrates, here we say methyl, primary, secondary and tertiary. But within the primary, if we have to look at, this is the primary group, CH2Br, there is only one methyl group. And we have CH3CH2, that is a ethyl group attached to this one. Here we have the isopropyl group attached to the CH2Br. Here we have a tertiary butyl group attached to the CH2Br. So if we look at these kind of things, even though the reactive center is the primary halide, the reactivity does vary a lot. In the case of ethyl, the reaction, if we assume that it is the relative rate is 1, when it is propyl, the relative rate decreases. When it is isobutyl, the rate decreases. But when it is neopentyl, the rate is negligible. In other words, it doesn't matter whether it is a primary alkyl halide or a secondary alkyl halide. As long as the intermediate is heavily crowded or the substrate is having lots of bulky groups, then the reaction by SN2 mechanism is going to be very, very difficult.
In the summary, we will sum up everything what we have studied in this particular session. So we studied about the fundamentals of substitution reactions. So what is the importance of the electronegativity, the bond strength, and the stability of the halide ions. So this is responsible for the high reactivity of alkyl halides. We also studied about the reaction kinetics, first order and second order. So how we can identify whether the reaction belongs to first order or second order. Then we also studied about the factors which affect the reaction kinetics, that is the polar effect and the steric effect. In the case of SN2 reaction, since there is no ions involved in this particular reaction intermediate, the polar effect have very little or no effect, whereas it is a rear side attack or the back side attack. So the steric plays a vital role in SN2 type reactions. So these are all the things we have studied in this particular session.